Welcome to Daily English Academy. In this video, you'll listen to a short English story called A Morning at the Café. It's written at AB1 level, which means it's perfect for intermediate learners. You'll learn natural English expressions that people really use when visiting a cafe or restaurant. Listen carefully, follow the story, and try to repeat the sentences to improve your fluency. It was a beautiful Saturday morning, and the city was just waking up. The air smelled fresh after a night of light rain. Birds were singing, and the sun was slowly rising behind the tall buildings. Emma, a young woman who worked all week in an office, wanted to start her weekend with something peaceful. She didn't want to rush or check her phone like she usually did. Instead, she wanted a calm morning. Just her favorite coffee, and a quiet place to relax. So, she put on her favorite beige sweater, grabbed her book, and walked to the small cafe near the park. The cafe's name was The Green Leaf, and it was famous for its warm atmosphere and soft jazz music playing in the background. When Emma opened the door, a small bell rang softly. Ding! The smell of freshly baked croissants and roasted coffee beans filled the air. Inside, a few people were already sitting by the windows, talking quietly or reading newspapers. She looked around and smiled. The place felt cozy and welcoming. Wooden tables, green plants in every corner, and paintings of nature on the walls. There was a big window where you could see people walking their dogs and children playing in the park. Emma thought to herself, asterisk, this is exactly what I needed today. Asterisk. She chose her favorite table by the window, placed her book and phone on the table, and took a deep breath. The music was calm. The smell of coffee was perfect, and for the first time that week, she felt completely relaxed. A few moments later, she saw a familiar face. Tom, the friendly waiter who always remembered her usual order. He smiled as he walked toward her, ready to start another lovely morning at the cafe. Just a few moments after Emma sat down, the familiar sound of footsteps approached her table. It was Tom, the friendly waiter she had met a few times before. He was always smiling and seemed to remember every regular customer. "Good morning, Emma," he said cheerfully, his voice full of energy. Emma looked up from her book and smiled back. "Good morning, Tom. You always recognize me so fast." Tom laughed softly. "Of course. You always sit by the window, and you always bring a book. It's not hard to remember." Emma smiled again. She liked how friendly the staff were here. They never rushed her or made her feel uncomfortable. The cafe felt more like a friend's living room than a business place. Tom placed a small menu in front of her and said, "We've got a few new things today. Some fresh croissants, blueberry muffins, and a new type of coffee from Brazil. Would you like to try something different?" Emma thought for a moment. She didn't usually change her order, but Tom's enthusiasm made her curious. Maybe I'll see. Let me check the menu first." "Take your time," Tom replied kindly. "I'll come back in a few minutes." As he walked away, Emma looked at the menu, but her eyes soon drifted toward the counter. Tom was laughing with another customer, and the atmosphere in the cafe felt alive. Friendly conversations, soft background music, and the sound of coffee machines hissing gently. She noticed how Tom greeted every person with the same warmth. Whether it was an old man ordering tea or a young couple sharing breakfast, he treated everyone like an old friend. Emma smiled quietly and thought, asterisk, that's why I love this place. It's not just about the coffee. It's about the people. Asterisk. She took a sip of water and looked outside again. The sun was shining brighter now, and she could see a group of children chasing pigeons in the park. Everything around her seemed calm and happy. A few minutes later, Tom returned, holding a small notebook in his hand, ready to take her order. And that was how another beautiful Saturday morning continued, with kindness, coffee, and a good mood. A few minutes later, Tom came back to Emma's table with his small notebook and a friendly smile, just like always. "So," he said, "have you decided what you'd like this morning?" Emma looked up from the menu and nodded slowly. "Yes, I think so. I'll have a cappuccino and a cheese croissant, please." Tom wrote down her order quickly but still asked, "Would you like any sugar with your cappuccino?" Emma shook her head gently. "No, thank you. I like it without sugar. I think it tastes more real that way." Tom smiled. "Good choice. That's how I drink my coffee, too." Emma laughed softly. "Then we have similar taste." "Seems like it," Tom said with a playful tone. "I'll be right back with your order." As Tom walked away, Emma leaned back in her chair. She looked around the cafe again. The quiet music, the low voices of people chatting, the smell of roasted coffee beans. Everything felt calm and relaxing. At the next table, an elderly couple were sharing a slice of cake, smiling at each other like they had been doing it for years. A young man near the counter was typing on his laptop, probably working on something important. Emma opened her book but didn't start reading right away. She just enjoyed being there. The peaceful energy of the morning, the comfort of familiar sounds, and the feeling of not needing to hurry anywhere. After a few minutes, she heard the sound of a coffee cup gently placed on a tray. Tom was at the counter, preparing her order. He looked focused but happy, moving quickly between the coffee machine and the pastry shelf. Emma watched as the steam rose from the coffee machine, filling the air with that wonderful smell she loved so much. She thought, *, maybe this is my favorite time of the week. A quiet Saturday morning at the Green Leaf Café. *. Soon, Tom picked up the tray and started walking toward her table. Emma smiled, ready to enjoy her warm cappuccino and soft croissant. But she didn't know that a small mistake was about to make this peaceful morning a little more interesting. Tom soon came back to Emma's table, carrying a silver tray with a cup of hot coffee and a small plate with a croissant. The smell was amazing, warm, buttery, and fresh from the oven. He placed everything gently on the table and said, "Here you go, Emma. 1 latte and 1 cheese croissant. Enjoy." Emma looked at the cup for a second. The foam looked different, a bit too smooth and creamy for a cappuccino. She smiled politely and said, "Oh, I think I ordered a cappuccino, not a latte." Tom froze for a moment, his eyes wide. "Oh no, you're absolutely right. I'm so sorry, Emma. I must have mixed up the orders." Emma laughed softly. "It's okay, Tom. Don't worry, it happens." Tom looked really embarrassed. "I'll fix it right away," he said quickly, taking the cup back. As he walked away, Emma watched him rush to the counter. She could see him talking to another waiter and shaking his head with a shy smile. It was clear he felt bad about the mix-up. Emma took a small bite of her croissant while waiting. It was delicious, crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. She thought, *, he's such a nice guy. Mistakes like that don't really matter. *. A few minutes later, Tom glanced at her from behind the counter. Their eyes met, and he gave her a little wave as if to say, "I'm fixing it right now." Emma smiled back and raised her coffee spoon in the air like a tiny flag, pretending to say, "No problem." It made her chuckle quietly. The small moment of connection reminded her that kindness was more important than perfection. While she waited, she looked outside the window again. The park was getting busier, families, joggers, and people walking their dogs. The city was fully awake now, but inside the cafe, time still felt slow and peaceful. Just a few minutes later, Tom returned, this time with the correct drink in his hand and a sheepish smile on his face. But little did Emma know, this time he had something extra for her too. A few minutes later, Tom came back, carefully holding a new cup of coffee on a small tray. This time, the coffee looked exactly right, thick foam on top, sprinkled with a little cocoa powder. The smell was rich and warm, just like a real cappuccino should be. Tom placed the cup in front of Emma with a big smile. "Here it is, your real cappuccino," he said, laughing softly. "I double-checked this time." Emma smiled warmly. "Thank you, Tom. It looks perfect." But before she could reach for the cup, Tom added, "And there's one more thing." He reached into his tray and placed a small white plate next to her coffee. On the plate was a tiny slice of chocolate cake with a single strawberry on top. Emma looked surprised. "Oh, what's this?" Tom smiled shyly. "It's on the house. A small apology for the mix-up earlier. I didn't want your Saturday morning to be anything less than perfect." Emma's eyes softened. She laughed gently. "That's so kind of you, Tom. You really didn't have to." Tom shrugged. "Maybe not, but I wanted to. I know how much you enjoy your mornings here. A small mistake deserves a small sweet fix, right?" Emma nodded with a smile. "Right. And this looks delicious." She took a bite of the cake, and her eyes lit up immediately. "Wow, this is amazing. Is it homemade?" Tom chuckled proudly. "Yes, our chef bakes it every morning. It's our most popular dessert." Emma smiled again, now feeling even more comfortable. "Well, tell your chef he did a great job." Tom grinned. "I will. I'm really glad you liked it." As Tom walked away to help another customer, Emma sat quietly for a moment, looking at the coffee, the cake, and the warm sunlight shining through the window. She thought, asterisk, it's not just good service that makes a place special. It's the kindness behind it. Asterisk. She took a sip of her cappuccino. It was rich, creamy, and perfect. Then she smiled to herself and whispered, "Now it's a perfect morning again." Emma stayed at the cafe for almost an hour. She finished her cappuccino slowly, enjoying every sip as she read a few pages of her book. The sunlight coming through the big window made everything look warm and peaceful. From time to time, she looked around and watched other people. A young woman near the counter was studying with her laptop. Two friends were laughing over pancakes. An old man was reading the newspaper, holding his glasses low on his nose. There was something special about that cafe. It made everyone feel calm and comfortable. It wasn't too noisy or too quiet, just perfect. Tom passed by her table a few times, checking if everything was fine. Each time, Emma smiled and gave him a little thumbs up. He seemed happy to see that she was enjoying her morning again. When Emma finished her coffee, she closed her book and stood up slowly. She walked over to the counter to pay. Tom greeted her again. "So, was everything okay this time?" he asked with a playful smile. Emma laughed. "Everything was perfect. Thank you again for the cake. That was really sweet of you." Tom smiled. "I'm glad you liked it. You know, seeing people leave with a smile is the best part of my job." Emma nodded. "Well, then I guess your job is done for today, because I'm definitely smiling." They both laughed. As she left the cafe, the small bell above the door rang again. Ding! Emma stepped outside into the fresh air, feeling light and happy. The park trees were glowing under the morning sun, and the smell of coffee still lingered in her mind. She looked back at the cafe for a moment and thought, asterisk, maybe happiness really is in small things, like a warm coffee, a kind smile, and a friendly place that feels like home. Asterisk. Then she put on her sunglasses, smiled to herself, and walked toward the park, ready to enjoy the rest of her perfect Saturday. Thank you for watching this English story from Daily English Academy. I hope you enjoyed A Morning at the Cafe and learned some new natural expressions today. Remember, the best way to improve your English is to listen every day and repeat after the story. If you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you won't miss our next English story. Keep learning, keep practicing, and see you in the next video.